Hey guys, welcome to Vinyl Junkies, episode 29. I tried to come up with some kind of catchy phrase for it, but wasn't able to. Plenty to talk about on the docket today, so looking very forward to getting started on it. What I'll do is tell you what's on the menu. How's that? One thing straight out, guys, this here, share it, tag it, comment on it. We're picking 5 winners today. 5 winners for free records, including 2 test presses. Yeah, rare stuff. 2 test presses by Solomon Burke and by Lou Johnson. Those are coming courtesy of Run Out Groove. And we have another 3. I've been backed up a little bit with the amount of winners that I've chosen, so don't think I forget this stuff. I don't, man. I look over it. We appreciate the support, and so do the sponsors. So Vinyl Me Please will be sending you 3 winners. Another 3 winners are going to get the VMP prize. That's coming up as well. Hope everything is good. Is everything good? Why is this fucking thing not going live? I wonder. Because something always goes wrong? Let me have a look here. No, let me have a look. I'm sorry, I gotta do this. Isn't it amazing how there's just always something? There's just always something. There's always something. Is this happening? I'm sorry, guys, but I'm gonna have to check the Facebook right now and see if it's working live, because if it's not working live, then I gotta stop the stream and I gotta start the stream all over again, because that's really the way it goes sometimes. Oh, I'm live! I'm sorry, guys. But
oh,
look
at Facebook right now and see if it's working live.
You see?
If it's not working live,
you see?
Then I gotta stop the stream and I gotta start the stream all over again, because that's really the way it goes.
Because it's working.
Oh, I'm live.
Sorry. I gotta turn this thing off now. Come on, admit it, you guys. I know you guys are all thinking to yourselves, "This guy's a fucking knucklehead, man." It's incredible. He never gets anything right. And I mean, you would be right. I never do get anything right. What it is that I count on is that you guys might find it endearing. So it's like, this poor imbecile is kind of like a vinyl Forrest Gump, you know? Doesn't know how to tie his own shoes, and God forbid, don't leave him in the bathtub, because if you forget him in the bathtub, it fucking gets cold. But get me talking about records. You got to be able to tap into this brain. You understand? The diseased mind is very complex architecture. So, I think I've mentioned that we will be talking about a few things. Let me elaborate on that. Vinyl Me Please is always a sponsor, the best damn record store around, and we'll be reviewing this month's February release. Ayalu, Jesus, what's his family name? Why do I forget this? Ayalu Mesfin. Ayalu Mesfin. I'm just not good with names, but the record is incredible, and I'm looking forward to talking to it about it, because there are stories that are VJ related. I decided to kind of put it all together. Why? Because this show, very simply, is about the stories. I think that you guys are vinyl junkies. I think that we are vinyl junkies, and it's not about it's just about the stories that bond us. It's about the things that make collecting this music and sharing this music special. So I guess this type of a program, Vinyl Junkies here, is an attempt to kind of aggregate what happened over the week, the best parts of it, the worst parts of it. I'll talk about the shit. I mean, you guys know I make no secret of the fact that I'm, you know, bipolar, so that has an effect. Sometimes I'll talk about that, but for the most part, you know, there's always a musical story, and there are always things that kind of bring us together, right? Music is magic. Discogs. We had a show yesterday for Discogs, which went really well with Jeffrey Smith, and if you haven't watched it, really you should. We talked about a whole bunch of things. I'll do a little bit of a recap of that. Gonzo Radio is exactly what it is that you're seeing right here. I guess I'll get into it a little bit right after I've mentioned Ayalu Mesfin, and we'll talk about next week, which is VJ versus Vinyl Me Please Round 5. So me and Matt will be getting together and doing another show. Dudes, it's fucking amazing, but the last show we did, me and Matt, like smashed the record for total views up to now. I think we're up to 72, maybe 73 1,000 views. It's insane. So, you know, I'm glad that you guys like the programming with Hessler, and we're going to continue doing this kind of programming. For me, I like the fact that, you know, we got a lot of different people talking, and you get different personalities, different perspectives, because, look, man, people that work in music are interesting cats. It's not like working at a call center, you understand? So, the idea of being able to kind of pull back the curtain and give you a little bit of insight, you know, as to what goes on into making the records, into creating the music and so forth, is something that I cherish quite a bit, and I will try to make as interesting as possible. In terms of myself, look, I think you guys know this is Gonzo Radio. What I mean by that is anything goes. This is not a professional broadcast. I'm not a professional. I am not a music critic. I'm a dude who's been collecting records his whole fucking life and reading about records his whole life, and this is all I want to do. That's all. My opinion don't mean shit. All right? But the things I talk about are things that I do believe in. I don't put it on, and I won't bullshit you guys. I understand the value of you guys as an audience, and I respect your perspective. So, in putting all of this together, Gonzo, it also means just making sure that you never put it on. This isn't an act, you know. Unfortunately, the issue with bipolar is that I used to call it when I was younger and before I understood that it was mental illness. I used to call it, fuck, you see, I don't remember, that's the first thing, but moodiness, you know, and then you realize what the illness is. Sorry, the word's not coming to me anymore, but you can't put it on. That is to say that if I'm sad, you probably see it. My wife is actually pretty acute, obviously. We've been together for a while, so what she tells me is, you know, at the end of those types of shows, you look like you didn't want to be there. You look like you just wanted to stop. And that's frustrating, right? Because if we're doing a show like this, I owe you guys something. It's simple. You guys watch the show, and we agreed to do this, so we have to do it right. And that means if it comes on at Saturday, then that's what it is. It comes on at Saturday. And we're putting together a schedule that will give you proper vinyl content, while telling you the good stuff that I come across, at least, and, you know, trying to give a shout out to the community. As a matter of fact, if anything, part of Gonzo Radio is including you guys in the community, you know. Yeah, all sorts of mistakes in the show, absolutely. I'm a fucking dumbass, man, there's no doubt about it. My brain works a special way. I don't even know how that is, but Special Olympics type of way, you understand? But when it comes to music, I know a few things. Okay, so you guys know a few things also, and we've gotten to know a bunch of people because of Vinyl Junkies. So I'm hoping to incorporate a lot of your knowledge into the show. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try. You know, for example, what it is that I wanted to do, just to let you know, is for the upcoming review of Ayalu Mesfin's My Worries, Vinyl Me Please's February album of the month, Grant Austin and I talked a lot during that whole thing, and I had hoped, just this morning I came up with the idea, hey man, wouldn't it be cool if we got to speak to Grant? That guy knows African music from our community better than anybody I know. Wouldn't it be cool if, rather than hear my kind of like ideas, which tend to be more generalized and not really very specific type of thing, wouldn't it be good to be able to have a conversation and match, kind of like, you know, compare notes with somebody who really digs that music, the real diggers, you know? Think about Shane Hartman when it comes to the, you know, the ska and that type of thing. So it takes a while for all that to happen, but guys, man, this is ours. You know, I'd love to have you on it because it's yours. It's just, this is Vinyl Junkies. This is you guys, man. So, let's move on. Anyway, just to let you know, though, is, believe it or not, no matter how much of a dumbass I am, I take this shit extremely seriously. That is to say that, hold on. Ooh, sorry, I'm worried about my program crashing, so you gotta stop. You see what I'm saying in terms of dumbass shit? And I understand, believe me, I understand exactly what a disaster it looks like, but, If you're not dealing with a professional, what do you do? If all I know how to do is talk about music, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to fucking practice in the room? No, man. You turn on the mic and we deal with the mistakes, and I'm kind of hoping that it's kind of endearing, you know? Oh, look at him. You know, I feel like throwing pebbles in his mouth or something. That's the hope. But, you know, anyone that knows me knows that this isn't stopping. I am going to ride this train as far as I can take it. There are big plans, and while I'm making these plans, I'm doing it with you guys in mind. I want to get you the best information when it comes to the products. I don't want to be somebody who talks about everything. I want to be able to choose the partners that we deal with, the albums that we look at. That's the entire idea. This doesn't mean that you need to agree, because again, I don't believe I'm a critic. Okay? I think Vinyl Junkies is supposed to be a conduit to begin the conversation about music. Okay? So if anything, I'm trying to make it as inclusive as possible. You guys, man, your comments, they matter. They matter. You know? I'm happy to do the winners. Guess what? The sponsors are happy to do the winners also. Why? Because, come on, man. It's not like we're not in this. It's not like we're not spending. We all know we buy records. So rather than just be stupid about it or being whores about it, why don't we do this right? Okay? And make sure that we represent the best so that we know that it's kind of like, you know, Consumer Report type of thing. It doesn't exist in vinyl, so why not? Right? Sure, we'll review music. There's the personal aspect also. Bipolar means I may at one point completely fucking have a meltdown. I don't know, okay? And I dread that day, but it hasn't happened. However, you saw me manic last week. Believe it or not, this is not manic. This is very controlled. But you saw me manic last week. That entire trip to California just completely messed with me emotionally, and it just messed with my mental illness a lot, where, you know, I was there and wanted to leave, and then I had one of the best moments of my life, and then I came home and just crashed like crazy. And these aren't things you can control. For people who think that it's just suck it up, guys, I can tell you that I'm one of the hardest working people you're ever going to meet. I work hard, man. I like this. I love this, and I give it my full commitment. I take you seriously. I take what I do seriously, no matter how much jokes we make. Okay? Last Monday, I lost the entire day. I slept in 14 hours. You can rest absolutely fucking assured that that's not the way I like spending a day. I don't, but what are you supposed to do, dude? Right? You're in the middle of something. Just imagine somebody, boom, fucking cold cocks you right in the fucking button, right in the chin, out. That's what happens. And you got the energy. You're groggy. And sure, you can get up. But who are you fucking kidding? Who are you kidding? It's like you got this big wet blanket on you and you can't. You understand? Because if you get up, you know, there's just another one coming. And sometimes we have those days. So, music is my salvation. And you guys are my salvation. And Vinyl Junkies is my salvation. And that's the way I'm going to cure this shit. And I'm going to tell you about my wild adventures. And, you're gonna see exactly how far I go. Do I crash and burn, or do I take this where I think I'm gonna take this? Let's find out. One thing you can rest assured of is that I don't stop hustling. I don't stop. I promise we will have the best. I don't accept anything less than that for you. Okay? Discogs is one of those best. And if you want to see the way a Discogs segment goes, what you should do is watch the video from yesterday. Vinyl Junkies versus Discogs, round 1 with Jeffrey Smith. It was awesome. By the way, can I just say that what's playing in the background is somebody that I love. It's the new Diamante Galas album. And we're still going to have an interview. But we've been talking back and forth, and some truly magical shit is happening. Listen, I mean, I can't speak for her end, but I can tell you that from my end, it's transformative It's stuff that means a lot to me. So I'm not really sure where that interview is going to go, but I have a feeling that it's going to be 100% raw, and it's going to be 100% honest. And look, man, the Amanda's deep. I can't wait for that to happen, but you know what? I ain't rushing it either. It's going to happen when it happens, but there's a dialogue. And if you want to know, well, you know what? Hey, man, let's give her some love. This is her last album, All the Way. Tell me that's not talent, right? I'm not going to play much of it. I would love so much to play more music for you guys, but the format is such that I worry about videos being taken down, and there's nothing that sucks more than putting in all this work into these videos and, you know, doing something proper and then having it taken down for something stupid. But you gotta respect whatever they want. Sorry, man, I had the little pearl happening. Sinuses, man. It's, you know, cold flu season here in Canada. How are you? How are you? How are you? ¿Cómo estás las chicas mexicanas españoles? Bonjour, les dames françaises. Buongiorno, buonasera, signori italiani. I can't do it in more languages than that. And I'm going to wind up saying the whole thing. You see what it is? I go and I try, I put on a good act. What it is that I do is I make sure that I learn the basic words of a bunch of languages, and then I just fucking wing it. And somehow you wind up picking up a couple more words, and before you know it, because you wing it and because, you know, I'm a dumbass, things happen to me. Like, you know, going to the Dominican Republic at one time, and the guy that was serving me my drink decides that he likes me, so he wants to invite me to a homemade Dominican meal. Yes, this is going to music, you'll see, okay? Because, hey, I remember the story, right? It was with my ex-wife, so my current wife is watching this right now, and she's fucking seething. She's foaming at the mouth because she hates when I talk about my ex-wife. Even though she knows that her and I are forever, she gets jealous. She's the jealous type. If she was a dog, she'd pee on my leg. That kind of thing. But love, you know. Are you familiar with Kiss? You remember Kiss during the unmake-up years, especially the late years? Hot in the Shade. You remember that one? Remember? Yeah? And everything about you is telling me this time it's forever. This time I know it, it's all fine in my mind. That song came out, and I used to love Kiss. I'm a cheesehead. I liked all Kiss. I realized, don't hate. Gene's a prick. I understand, but I loved it, and I watched it all. And that was a song when I had the long hair, so it was kind of hot shit, right? And I weighed a lot less. A lot of pretty girls I dated. And I kind of had this really pretty girl that I was dating in blonde, and I wanted to impress her. I always wanted to impress them with my music knowledge, which is, of course, the worst thing you can do, because the younger they are, the less they give a fuck. You know? But culture, I was just looking towards people for culture, and this was a song that was playing, and I was purported to look in my younger days like Paul Stanley, a mix between the no-makeup Paul Stanley and the drummer of Sepultura, I believe, on Arise. So if you turn the cover of Arise and you see the redhead guy, that's what I looked like. The other story, which brings it back to lovely, lovely Anaheim, is at one point I was walking along Crescent Street here in Montreal and was in the back, and one guy just saw my long hair, but he saw that it was long hair, but it belonged to a guy, because I guess I look like a guy. And he yells out, "Hey, Tiny Tim!" So I've also been mistaken from the back for Tiny Tim. Anyway, Forever by Kiss, on vinyl I had it, was the song that I thought, you know, I would impress her with, and so that we can get into a heavy makeup out session, and I could grab those titties. Kiss. I tried to impress the ladies with Kiss. The no makeup Kiss. Can you fucking believe it? All of this while Diamanda howls her dismay at the idea of me listening to Kiss. I understand, Diamanda. You are right. I am disgraceful. Her voice is sending me down to the 7th circle of hell. I am in the 7th circle of hell. Help me. Lord Jesus. I've been reading Dante's Inferno, or the Cliff Notes version of it. Could you tell? Because that's what happens when you listen to Diamanda Galás and when you interact with Diamanda Galás. Before you know it, what it is that you're doing is you're going back to Dante's Inferno and, you know, looking at the liner notes and reading a Baudelaire poem while she interprets it in her, well, interprets, I would call it conjures, more than anything. Listen to this. I'm really hoping that this doesn't get me knocked off anything. That would frustrate the hell out of me. But listen, man, a producer's on the way at some point, working on a web guy. We're going to build this, all right? And I hope to include you guys as much as possible. Something that I've talked to you about as well is the fact that we're probably going to be looking into a co-host, just a sidekick. I want that. I just haven't put it together yet. You know, put out a couple of feelers, and it's not going to happen until it feels right. But when it feels right, you know, it's all really nice if we can kind of capture that energy that me and Matt Hessler have kind of caught over 5 or 6 episodes, you know, but that takes time. But what we'll do is put it together, and I promise, the show's going to get better. I'm not done yet. Although Diamanda may disagree. That is one awesome woman. So, the co-host. Would you guys like to co-host? Do you think that you have what it takes, you know, the personality to bring something interesting to a vinyl program and keep me on track and just talk about music? Do you think that you'll be able to get into the deep, dark details of your life like Billy Fields did last week when he shared with us that he sharted he sharted his pants while walking his hound? Guys, Gonzo Radio, very honest, intimate stuff happens here while we talk about the records. So, sure, Solomon Burke, but sharding your pants. And to be honest with you, I think he's trying to kind of like look all cool in front of his New York muckety mucks, because that mustache, you know, the whole thing he's got. He's got that whole thing, you know, that whole get on the show and take over the whole fucking thing, that thing, you understand? So I'm thinking he doesn't really want to just admit straight out so that he can save face that Billy, in fact, shit his pants. Oh, dude, the shit, this Vinyl Junkies, the hilarity and the merriment never ceases to amaze me. Now, you know what else happened this week? And believe it or not, this is not me being manic. This is me actually in control. All right, Discogs. We should talk about Discogs because despite altogether now technical difficulties, after looking back at the show, what we did there with Jeffrey Smith of Discogs was really fun. It's going to be a monthly program where we would discuss music. We nerd out on music, but we'll discuss all things Discogs, get stats, and on top of that, basically make that month episode so that it's an open forum that you guys can ask your questions about, and we're happy to answer those questions, you know. So that whole interactive thing is going to happen, and that's very much part of the plans. But of course, technical difficulties, you see, because you know, okay, so Jeffrey's mic was a little bit better. It wasn't good. It wasn't the fucking tin can that Billy Fields spoke to there at Run Out Groove, but it was better. Fine. There was an echo in the room. It sounded like he was talking through a wind tunnel. I understand. But you should have seen what it was like before I fixed that problem. Made no sense. A complete disaster. So there is work to do with Jeffrey. He is not understanding the concept of this and representing his brand very, very, very poorly. But we'll fix that. I promise. We'll fix. I'll fix Kentucky. You don't worry about that. Me and Kentucky, we got shits to talk about. What was fun was that you guys did comment, and it was clear that you had questions, and you obviously shared your experiences. It was great, man. I loved the interactivity of the entire vid. Like I said, it was really good. I was worried, though. You know why? Because while the vid was on, you'll notice that I announce Jeffrey Smith, and all you see is a video of a blank, really sad looking barren house that echoes a lot for lack of furniture and art and tapestry and all the stuff that makes a house a home. But there was a big thing of records on the side with the stereo, and no Jeffrey. So I'm thinking he fucked with me. He wasn't fucking with me. He's just a technological dipshit like myself. So for the first 15 minutes, what it is that you do is you hear me talking to Jeffrey, and he's literally right in front of the camera, but we can't get it. After that time, and I was worried, right? Because it's like, okay, this is going to make for bad programming because it fucks with your head. Is this going out? Is it not going out? I don't know. I'm not able to I'm not able to concentrate on what I'm telling you like I am now. That's why now, you see this here? This is me when I'm on. Able to catch the difference. Where's Waldo? You know who was on fucking Hollywood Boulevard? Girls! So, what we did was we talked about all things Discogs, and you guys asked a lot of questions. And we picked some winners, which were announced yesterday. Again, 5 winners today. Share this, man. Comment. We're going to pick the winners. And you see the link there, for God's sake, for God and baby Jesus' sake. Just visit and pick your record. Tell us. But we wound up talking about stamps from Bhutan. Stamps, the playable stamps from Bhutan. Jeffrey didn't know about them, and we wound up finding a link, and one of our VJ members, I think it's Dave Schmeckel, wound up finding them on Discogs. So yeah, if you look up at Discogs, I'm going to try putting up a link when we post this up, but there is a link where you can find all, not all, but at least some of those playable record stamps that, from Bhutan. Pretty rare, you know, very collectible. So we talked about that. We laughed at Billy, because everybody laughs at Billy. What else did we do? We came up with a couple of things, like some of the comments I just highlighted to give you an idea of, you know, the ideas. I loved the participation because we were able to kind of provide them with an idea of what our experience is and the things that they would do in order to kind of like improve the experience. So just some of the things that came up, which I thought were good, and is true. You know, it's a tool I use every day. So corrected auto search, right? Yeah, man, if it takes a cookie, let it be there. But I'm typing the same fucking names. How many times do I gotta type Miles Davis? How many times do I gotta type Frank Sinatra? Just What? Autofill. It makes sense. Autocorrect. It makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. That was that was one of the big ones. The other thing that I had mentioned was the reason that I don't use the app. I know that, you know, they're touting the app, and I do use it. I definitely, let's say, if I go record shopping to see what's there, that there's no doubt. But the reason I don't use the app to enter my stuff, even though the barcode works to perfection. Some records don't have barcodes, but there's also the issue of when I enter my collection, and I have most of my collection there, but still a big part not. But when I enter that, what it is that I do is I make notes. So there's a little notes section where I talk about where I got the record and how much I paid for it and where it came from. If there's any stories, I put it all there, you know, so you catalog it. You basically give your records a history. That's the entire point, right? So the VJ archive is full of history. It's full of your names. If you guys sent a record, I know, man, because it's in there. So it becomes a living, breathing archive. Now, when I'm entering this in the app, you can't do that. So it means that the app doesn't serve my purpose, right? Because I'd have to do it there once, and then I'd have to go back and do it again. So double work for nothing. It doesn't work. But it is the music equivalent of the U.S. Library of Congress, and fantastic. So that's why it is that I'm proud of the partnership, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to deliver fantastic content for you. Okay. Another thing that a lot of you who are still uninitiated to it raised, and I get it, is, hey, I got this X number of records. It's going to take me a long time to put all of that in. You're right, man. It's such a pain. But I had started putting him in, I think, when I had about 500 or 600 records. But I'm so glad I did it because it's all there now. And Evan McWhirter actually had mentioned his comments directly from the pages. It may take some time to enter records, but it's a wonderful time to sit and listen to records. And that's exactly it. He kind of captured the fact that it certainly wasn't like the 80s and the 90s, but Discogs has become, for me, well, I use the desktop, right, while I listen to music. It's kind of work at the same time, but it's become the equivalent of, what's it become the equivalent of? I got distracted. It's become the equivalent of reading a magazine, or it just makes it so that you sit down. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. I'll come back, okay? Just let me hit this, and that's what I was trying to say. It becomes a part of the ritual. So for me, especially when I'm entering one at a time, when there's a whole bundle, it's a pain in the ass, but one at a time, it becomes very much a part of the ritual to enter the information, put it in the archive, and just read about it, read the production notes. And I have such an appreciation for those labels that take the time to fill out their Discogs profiles properly, because I read that stuff. Sundazed is one of those labels. Their notes in there are amazing. Ran Out Groove, our partners, are one of them. I'm pretty sure that it's Brad McCormick who takes care of that. Maybe Matt Block over there. But seriously, their Discogs entries are amazing, you know? So it becomes part of the ritual. And as I'm reviewing these records, or whatever it is that we, you know, I call what I do with these records, and telling you about them, I copy and paste from there, and it just makes the entire thing so much easier. It really is a tool, but it's become part of the ritual. And now, putting it in, coming home, like coming home, let's say, with 5 or 6 new records, and going through that whole thing and taking it out of the bag, removing the cellophane if they're new, and dropping the needle on it while you enter it into Discogs is a blast. It's just fun. It's become part of the fun. So, yeah. I didn't know I was going to go on and on as long as I did, because for all intents and purposes, Jeffrey was a ghost for the first 15 minutes of that show and fucked it all up. So that's what happened. If you want to watch it, just watch it. It's Vinyl Junkies versus Discogs, round 1. Ding ding. Every episode is a new round. Next Friday's your favorite and mine, Matt Hessler from Vinyl Me Please. We're going to be doing the we used to call it What's in Your Cart, but it's Vinyl Junkies versus Vinyl Me Please round, I think 5 or 6, man. We've done a couple of these. The premise is they stock their new store and we give ourselves kind of like this game. You know the game of, if I had $1 million, if I won the lottery, what would you do? It's kind of like, that's just dreaming. But on the other hand, we kind of try to bring it a little closer to reality. Hey, let's say you won $100 shopping certificate. Which records would you buy? So it's kind of like we look over their album offerings and we pick it, and some stuff goes over and some stuff goes under, and it just winds up being a really fun conversation about music. And as you get to know the person, there's just kind of like this synergy that happens that is fucking magical, because that's what vinyl is about. So all of this is that I'm saying, if it looks like Hessler and me are having a good time, it's because we are, man. And I hope that you guys are having a good time. And I'm going to try, I got to get callers in, man. I'm going to try to get you guys and kind of include the entire thing as much as possible and make it fun. Why does this matter to me so much? Because I'm a hippie. Because I studied philosophy, and Thomas More's Utopia, parts of it actually seemed possible, but they're not. So what you do is you carve out this little segment of the world for yourself. And you make that your garden. And you tend to it. My garden is music, man. So Vinyl Junkies, so you tend to it and you try to make it the best possible. Why? Because music matters. Because people like John Peel matter. They matter, they matter, they matter. And passion is nice, so I'd like to see it. And besides, I can't do much else. Okay. And there we are. Do we have all of it? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tell you a story. Once I get a drink, okay, we're going to get into the interview part of this. 37 minutes. Wow, okay. So this is actually the last part before we announce our 5 winners. 2 winners of Test Presses by Lou Johnson, Sweet Southern Soul, and Solomon Burke's Best of Atlantic, 1962 to 65, courtesy of Run Out Groove. We're gonna be choosing 2 winners there. I have them already, so you gotta watch. And then 3 winners, which I already picked for Vinyl Me Please prizes, and those you get to pick what you want. So look. We've been at this since 2011. I mean, the page began before the forum did, but anyway, 2011 is when this whole thing started. And some of us were here early, and relationships develop. As much as people talk about real relationships and how, Facebook is the devil and everything, I don't think that any tool is the devil. I think a tool is only as useful as the manner in which you use it. So if you make sure that you clean the shit off your tool and you keep it sharp and you use it properly and you use it constructively, you're gonna do something good with that tool. Well, Facebook's a tool. If it's shit, it's because you're pretty shitty with it. So I decided, you know what, fuck this. I'm gonna just try to use my little area and do something, a tribute to music, just a life to music, because it's taken me out of everything, just like it has with you. Music is magic, music is magic, music is medicine. It's the best. It's the best. It's as simple as that. So over the years, friendships were formed, real friendships, and people have visited Europe to United States and Canada to US, and so many trips have happened as a result of this group. And, you know, I'm only one guy telling you about the adventures, and, you know, thankfully I'm kind of wacky. So the adventures get interesting. So it's kind of like, hey, where's Waldo visiting fucking making vinyl in Detroit? And there are stories and friends made. And then you go to Anaheim and visit Nam, and you visit the Lemmy statue, and there are stories and vinyl related stuff. And over the years, we've all shared our stories, and we've had the chance to visit each other with each other. We've had the chance to do swaps, so many things. Where am I going? So, enter something that I did for a couple of years before this show came on. I didn't do it this year. I kind of feel bad about it, but charity is something that's important to me. I think charity is something that should be important to everybody, because you can't take it with you. And if you're not the type of person who can just reach down and help somebody, we're human, man. We need each other. We need each other. It's a fragile existence. We need to be there for each other as much as possible. And so what it is that I do is I have a fairly deep personal connection to this charity that I had decided to raise money for a sock fund, Dans la Rue. Okay, they're a local charity here that basically feeds homeless children and helps kids with drug problems. Takes care of homeless youth, man, and really just tries to do good for them. And Pops died just a couple of weeks ago, not long ago at all, but that's something that mattered to me, because when things were difficult, I had my apartment and I made it all happen somehow. But I knew where the truck was. And I never forgot. Sometimes it's just that. It's just knowing that it's there that makes you comfortable, you know? And that, when it comes to friends, that's when it is that you know that they're your real friends too, because you know they got your back. The people that got your back, you don't worry, because when you fall, you don't fall too hard. You've always got something lifting you. For better or for worse, I am a man who believes that we can kind of like make Vinyl Junkies be that thing where we're there for each other. And we share. So 2 years running, I did a sock drive for Dans la Rue around Christmas time. Just my little way of giving back. And I always had it as part of the VJ mission statement that a portion should always go to the, you know, to charity. And I vow for that to come back. But anyway. We raised, I don't know, $240 or something like that. Mostly personal, but it wasn't organized or whatever. But $240 for socks. And I went to Walmart that year and I bought $240 worth of socks. And I gave it to them. And it made me happy. And it made you guys happy. Pats all around. Everyone felt good. And last year, not to this Christmas, but the Christmas before, was a really difficult Christmas. Just bipolar was fucking with me. So, but somehow that also means that sometimes shit happens on a switch, right? Like the idea of getting Grant to talk about the Africa bit. Oh, actually, I'm going to tell you about that now. Just, you know, a lot of stuff just happens on a switch. So Steve from STB Records sent me a record and says, hey, you want to give this away? I said, okay. And I decided, you know what, if I'm going to give it away, why don't I see what we can do with this prize? And why don't we make it go to a good cause, right? So what we'll do is we'll set up something and just raise some money so we can build a nice mountain of socks and just give them to the poor. And that one record I wound up using and leveraging and contacted a bunch of other people. By the time we were done, okay, we ran it for 3 days, I believe, maybe 4. And those were some of the earlier videos. They weren't Vinyl Junkies videos, though, but, you know, I would go on because it meant something to me. And, you know, a lot of those kids on the street are mentally ill, man. I don't think they want to live there. It's just the alternative sucks. So I get on, and I leveraged, within those 3 or 4 months, you guys all came together, and I leveraged that one prize into 15 or 16, maybe even 20 prizes in 4 days, including a full year's subscription to Vinyl Me Please. Okay, so many people came out in the community and contributed, and socks became boots because $2,500, you know. So I went to the store and I bought a lot of boots, a lot of new boots, really the good ones though. And I brought them to Dans la Rue, and this is from our community. So one of those prizes, I'm getting, believe it or not, this is actually going to the Ayalu Mesfin thing. But one of those prizes was this record here, a Pat Thomas record that Grant Austin owned. Okay, there you go. That Pat Austin owned, and he thought it was so cool that we were doing this for charities. There, look, I have a double of this, you know. I'll send it to one of the winners, you know. And he wrote a really nice note inside to the winner. She didn't have a turntable, but she won legit, and he put in a nice note, which I don't have now. Oh my god, I regret. I hope I can find it, because if I do, you'll see exactly why this story is as cool as it is. But he wrote a nice note that he didn't have to the winner, and the record wound up in my hands while the CD wound up in their hands. And Pat Thomas was the record he sent, and he kind of is our resident expert when it comes to African music, but he gets community, and he and I began a friendship over that, because it's just, you know, somebody does an act of kindness. Whenever you see somebody share an act of kindness, you know, you take note of that. Those are the good people, man. Those are the good people. Those are the ones that you should be spending time with. So you try to surround yourself with that as much as possible. So we developed a friendship, you know, and it brings us forwards to now with this Ayalu Mesfin record, and why this came out, because there is a story here, right? I'm actually not too rambly this time, eh? It looks like I'm remembering a lot of stuff. That's real cool. I usually forget all sorts of stuff. That's why it is that I need a co-host, because I forget everything. Sorry, man. So, I come back from Anaheim, and the VMP package is waiting for me. I'll get to it. I'll just give you a real quick, this is the quick Vinyl 101 hack for those of you who have shelves back there. I'll get back to Ayalu, I promise. It's a great record, but I'll get back to it. I have notes and everything. But you want a really quick hack? You know, Discogs, not Discogs, but the Expedit shelves or the Kallax shelves that you get at IKEA. Still the best, cheapest, most affordable shelving, unless you want to spend big money, right? People always worry about, you know, whether they're going to collapse, a whole lot of things. But one thing for me is that I like that the records come out. Okay, so there's a lip, right? When you put them in, there's kind of, I don't know, this much space, centimeters, inches, you guys can make it out. And there's a lip, so you kind of have to pull in. I don't like that. I like my records to kind of just be flush or stick out a little bit more, right? Then, of course, there's the second issue with the Expedit shelves, and that is always, wait a second, reinforce them, you know, put them up against the wall, something, right? Because people worry about the shelves tipping over or breaking. That's a lot of records, and you don't want to damage them. First of all, you should just make sure that your shelves are facing the way they're supposed to. That's the absolute first thing, because you want to make sure that the weight is carried properly. But if you really want to enforce without having to put anything on the wall or whatever, real simple thing. What it is that I do to push my records forward is I use this right here. Check it. Guys, I swear it's absolutely true. What it is that I do is I use the Vinyl Me Please box, which I can't find the camera for because, well, I'm not good. The Vinyl Me Please box. What it is that I do is I take this box, okay? Once I pull out the records, I break in these areas here on all sides, okay? And I fold these areas here. You see this here? Here. See that? I fold it in, okay, on both sides. Now, when you do that, it fits perfectly into the cube of the Expedit or the Kallax. It fits perfectly. And that will allow it so that your records don't kind of go back and forth and fall out from the back. I know it happens. It's a pain in the ass. It keeps them all flush. I just keep packing these, so it's kind of like I'll say, okay, well, these boxes, I'll put 2 of them, and that's, you can kind of measure it for yourself, right? And it keeps the records all flush, firstly, and secondly, for those of you worried about your thing collapsing, what it does is it reinforces, because think about it, right? If you got a 4x4 Kallax shelf, and you put 16 of these boxes here in the squares, you're not going to get much more reinforcement than that, man. I'm not an engineer, but makes a lot of sense. So in other words, you know those Vinyl Me Please boxes? Don't throw them out. They're good boxes. Use them. Give a hoot. Don't pollute. And that, dear friends, is this episode of Vinyl 101. Subscribe to our channel for more. The reason I did that is because I'm probably going to cut that segment and make a video, a Vinyl 101 series. It's in the plans, guys. I'm a one-man show. I'm doing as well as I am, doing as much as I can, but I promise it's in the plans. We'll take care of this property. So look, Grant, Ayalu comes up. I post it. I come back from Anaheim, and VMP sent an early copy, which is amazing. But I'm glad, because it allowed me to kind of sit with the record for 10 days rather than, you know, the 3 days that I usually have with it. And I think it's important to absorb a piece of art in order to kind of just at least render some connection, you know. Reviews, look, man, writing about music is like dancing about architecture for me. I don't know how to write about music. I can almost make more sense of synesthesia than I can writing about music. That's to say that, you know, being able to see it almost, or being able to pair a meal or a certain situation or a certain life situation, you know, with the proper soundtrack, that I can see a lot more. And I guess that's really the way I approach it. I approach it from a personal aspect also. But in terms of reviews, guys, me telling you that a record scored 8.6 out of 10 doesn't mean a fucking thing. It doesn't. It doesn't. If that's what you're here for, it's the wrong show. I don't do that. We're here to have a discussion. So we're going to talk about Ayalu. And hopefully I'll tell you the story in a way that is interesting enough for you to maybe go out and give it a link. Give it a listen. Here. Let's do this properly. Okay. So yeah, that's Ayalu. I had a lot of time with it. Now, as I discussed earlier in the show, I came back from Anaheim, and my, you know, bipolar fucked with me until just recently. So it was highs and lows and highs and lows. It was choppy waters that wasn't fun and wound up costing me an entire day. But one thing that just happened throughout that entire period of time, though, is the music kind of just steadied the boat a little bit all the time, you know, kind of always brought back where it is that you're supposed to go, why you do things. And the one constant in my entire listening period was Ayalu Mesfin. And that happened haphazardly, okay? If I'm not feeling a record, I won't play it because I have to talk about it. I'm not doing that, man. I gotta feel it. And when things weren't going well, I heard Ayalu. And when things were going better, I heard Ayalu. So it's kind of like listening to the music from an emotional perspective is kind of like I caught some of the sadder parts of it, and I caught some of the really happy parts of it, because in terms of just musically, look, it's pretty simple. Afro-funk, man. So if you like African music with like the guitar and a really unique voicing, which I will talk about, that's where we bring Grant in, you're going to love the record. If you trust Agon and Now Again as curators and Madlib, look, you're on the right track. It's an amazing soundtrack, and only a few of these tracks were ever compiled before this compilation at Vinyl Me Please. So it's a first time compilation of all these tunes. And some of them are kind of like dancey. And those of you who know Fela are going to catch a lot of that call response thing that you hear in a lot of African music, and a lot of that call response that hooked me to, music from Africa. But there's something else in it. And I wish so much I could play some of it for you. I tried to clear copyright, but look, it's a clusterfuck, man. So clearing copyright on music is not good. I'd love to play it for you so you can hear it, but look for Ayalu Mesfin in the group. I posted it up. Give the link a sound, but there's something he does with his voice that I noticed, I've heard before. I am no expert on African music, okay? I've collected mostly compilations, so for me to really go into artists, I expect record labels to kind of lead the way, and I read the notes. But the first compilation I ever bought was back in the 80s, The Indestructible Beat of Soweto, and just went from there. Fela came in, and then all of a sudden Afrobeat became a lot more prevalent to me, but always with the compilations. But I never really understood kind of the areas, but I kept coming back to this voice, right? And there's some of it that goes, that like when you hear an Arab, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan does that as well. You hear like shaking in the voice, like Arabic music. And I've noticed that I've heard that in some African music. Now, I'm a generalist, so I don't know any one region. I kind of know 65 to 75 pretty well, especially black music. But even then, it's just I listen to everything, and I like knowing about everything. So, but there's some people that are so enamored by music that they know stuff. So I had kind of begun mentioning this, and in my little write-up on Vinyl Junkies in the forum, mentioned that little thing that he has in his voice. And lo and behold, of course, who else would it be but Mr. Grant? That just came and decided to fill it in, and he kind of filled in a nice chunk of where that came from. I'm going to just read what it is that he sent to you, just to kind of give you an idea of why Vinyl Junkies is amazing, okay? Because this is a living, breathing Wikipedia. This is human beings sharing stuff with each other, not the garbage, music, stories, experience. So what he does is he emails me and he tells me, right? I'll go through my notes also, but his notes to me was, all this is to say that when talking about Ethiopian music in general, it may be useful to discuss the similarities and differences you hear against any Northern African or Horn of Africa or Middle Eastern music. Okay. Now, you see, he breaks this up into 4 different things: 3 regions of Africa and Middle Eastern music. Automatically, he knows more than I do in terms of that. Why? Because he digs deeper. But the next line, the connective tissue between all of them is Muslim traditional singing. Now that makes sense, because now I hear it in Nusrat, and I've heard it in other compilations. Maybe not, Ayalu. This is the first time I hear Ayalu, but I heard that, my wife is of Egyptian descent, so that's something that's prevalent there as well. Kulthum sings with that shake as well. So he kind of told me that, yeah, indeed, there's a Middle Eastern, there's a, influence there. There's a Muslim influence to that music. And then went a little deeper that I really liked, was that he had said from his reading that the reason that voicing began, and does he have dates? No. But the reason that voicing began is because, I'm paraphrasing here, and I might be off at least on some points, but you weren't able to play instruments, or it was against some kind of Muslim law to play instruments. So what wound up happening is that those of the Muslim faith, who would sing, developed these different timbres in their voice to kind of create a difference and to kind of like replace that area. I don't know. Look, like I said, I'm a generalist, but I just found the story to be interesting. Now, one of the things that was really good is that the liner notes are amazing. Like that, to me, I keep talking about, motherfucker. Of course, I forget them somewhere though. Yeah, okay, so I don't have them. You're gonna have to take my word for it. It's just a nice big booklet filled with liner notes. The text is maybe a little bit too small, but still a good size, but filled. Anything you want to know, and this is one of the things that I really love about some of the African labels, like Analog Africa Analog Africa liner notes read like a travelogue. In this particular case, it goes so deep into the history. So there you are, and it's like, well, that's what the vinyl experience is all about. You sit with the record, and it's like, ah. So over the course of all of these days that all of this, inner turmoil was happening, I sat and I read the notes. I really wish I could find the notes. I'm disappointed I can't. But hey, Gonzo Radio, right? I fuck up. And I read up about the history and found out that one of the reasons that Ethiopian music is kind of like fiercely independent and is very, very proud of its tradition is because it remained independent up until 1974 when it was finally overthrown. The last emperor was Haile Selassie. Now, I don't know much of that, but again, I listen to a lot of reggae music, so now there's that connective tissue that happens. Haile Selassie, I'm interested. Then, reading through the liner notes as I listened to Ayalu sing, I noticed that the fierce independence, one of the two things that directly go into the Ethiopian culture is the fact that it resisted and won against 2 attacks by Italy. So, they're tough motherfuckers. And then we go into where the horns come from, right? Because there's a good horn section that's pretty traditionally African. And you read in the liner notes that those horns, the first time that horns were introduced in Ethiopia to that music, they came as a gift from Tsar Nicholas the First, I believe. I don't remember which, but Tsar Nicholas, who congratulated, he gave them, he offered these gifts to Ethiopia as congratulations for resisting the first of the Italian invasions. And these 40 instruments came with an instructor as well. All in the liner notes. I'm telling you, it's fun. And so you're listening to music, it's like, hey, dude, man, this is fucking wild. This is fun. This is the way vinyl is done. And I keep listening, and it takes me deeper. So, the first band members, it was mostly military marches, right? And Haile Selassie understood the power of music in bringing people together. So military marches were what they were taught, and the people that made up the orchestra, the very first people who made up the orchestra in Ethiopia, and played the very first brass instruments were coming from 2 different sources. I don't remember what the timeline in. One source was newly freed men. So that's to say that if I'm going to get the dates properly here, I have them right here. Okay, so the first brass instruments were given to the Ethiopian court by Russia's Tsar Nicholas II, you see, along with an instructor. Emperor Haile Selassie understood the importance of using music to serve his political ideologies. The first, this is the one I was looking at, the first orchestra was made up of Armenian orphans, victim of the Armenian genocide. So when that happened, they took those people and they had them live in the mansion with Haile Selassie, the emperor, and they learned music. So that's kind of the first thing. I didn't know that before, but that's why you read liner notes, because you learn, and it's just fun. Okay. The second place, once that kind of thing, just to kind of give you the dubious area that horns in Ethiopian music come from. The second time that happened is around 1924 when Selassie accepted the emancipation of the slaves in Ethiopia. Supposedly slavery went on for longer, but he officially accepted emancipation because he wanted Ethiopia to be recognized among the League of Nations. So there were newly freed men, people that were slaves, but now with the signing of the emancipation became free men. So Selassie, Haile Selassie, Emperor Selassie, took a bunch of them and put them in the band and paid them nothing. And they were basically slaves. Slaves. So the earliest musicians were slaves. Cool. I didn't know that. Now, 70s comes along. And with the 70s, this is the last story, by the way, and then I pick winners. With the 70s comes along, James Brown changed everything. Jimi Hendrix changed everything. This music reverberated all over the world, and every culture brought in something different. Africa blended it with those polyrhythms, which of course James Brown took from. So there was kind of like this intermingling that was happening. Now Ethiopia has a tradition, so as far as I know, it sounds a certain way. You'd have to speak to people who know more about it. But all this is to say that you hear the guitar and wah guitar washing over the entire thing. And you got some songs that go from fucking dance floor killers, you know, to just some of the most beautiful, heart-rending music. And it all happened while, you know, this music was kind of trying to stay under occupation. And I think it's a very powerful, poignant record. And look, I got a lot of African music. I love that stuff. It's fun when certain records kind of push themselves to the forefront. And it's like, okay, outside of Fela, of course. So Ayalu, you're going to get something that you didn't have before. And if you have a sense of adventure and if you're looking for something a little different in your collection, look, I don't have anything like it. So it stands out. The Pat Thomas that I showed you, well, look, think about the beautiful story that it's attached to. That's why the Pat Thomas record stands out, man. It stands out. And that's why vinyl matters. And that's why that shit just doesn't happen with streams. It doesn't. And it ain't the same with CDs. I don't remember this stuff happening during the CDs, but with vinyl it happens. So maybe I'm crazy and Buzz will probably laugh at me, but that, dear friends, is Ayalu, okay? So we have 5 winners. 5 fucking winners. By the way, vinyl style, awesome. They take care of all my vinyl needs. And Org is awesome also, and they take care of my jazz needs and our winners, okay? First of all, we'll pick the 2 winners courtesy of Run Out Groove. First 2 winners, and that will pick albums, and then, okay, Lou Johnson. The album is Sweet Southern Soul. You are getting a test pressing of Sweet Southern Soul, courtesy of Vinyl Groove, and it is Vinyl Groove Records. No, Run Out Groove. Cut out that burp. You see, if I had a producer, I would cut out the burp because it would embarrass me, and that's not very good to do with your clients. So forget what I said. What I was trying to say is runoutgrooveofvinyl.com. The first test pressing, which is Lou Johnson, Sweet Soul. What was it? Sweet Soul Sister. Abraham Garbley. Abraham Garibay. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for tagging your friends and commenting. Abraham Garibay, you are the winner of Lou Johnson, Sweet Southern Soul. Then we have Solomon Burke, The Best of the Atlantic Years, 1962 to 65. The winner of that is Mr. Michael Van Evenhoven, because he's amazing. He's one of the admins, moderators, and he helps keep things clean, and he actually is kind of the resident expert. And but when I say expert, I don't mean in terms of, I mean just in terms of everyday experts type of thing. But he has a lot of information when it comes to turntables and that type of thing. So the tech stuff, you know, he knows a little bit more, and he's always happy to share it. So he did a lot of that, and he cleaned up some nonsense. And I appreciate that, you know, so every once in a while it's nice to do something back. And Solomon Burke, I know he's a fan of. He and I have already traded records. He traded me, not on the forum, aside. We don't do that on the forum. But he traded me my copy of Interstellar Space, and I gave him 2 Atlantic Soul records, including an Irma Thomas record. I don't remember the other one, maybe a Rufus Thomas. But I had doubles, you know. And I know he's a fan of Solomon Burke, so yeah, Michael, thanks for everything that you do. You're going to be getting a test pressing of Solomon Burke's Best of Soul 1962-65, courtesy of Run Out Groove. Then we have our last 3 prizes, and these were taken, you know, usually it's supposed to be just one, but they were taken from a backlog of shows that I didn't pick from. But I made sure that I went in, I saw what the shares was, I see what you guys write. Okay, so I took that and I randomly chose a bunch of winners. These are the 3 winners. You guys will all get 1 record courtesy of our pals at Vinyl Me Please. Visit app.vinylmeplease.com. Check out your records. And it might not be there. I think there's just a couple of days left if you want to get that Ayalu Mesfin record. But in my opinion, you should do so, but that's up to you. But we have 3 winners from that. Again, thank you for doing what you do in order to support Vinyl Junkies. The winners are Ms. Brianne Risher, Mr. Al Lheureux, and Mr. Robert Bellew. So that, dear friends, is the end of the show. Tune in next Friday for Vinyl Junkies versus Vinyl Me Please. Round 5, round 6, many rounds. We're punch drunk. It's going to be fun, I promise. What we'll do is take a chance and hope that I don't get killed. And let's see if we can get Miss Diamanda Galas to run us out for a little while, okay? Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. You have a lovely weekend.